Hello and welcome to the next video of my World's 2022 preview series. As we get to the nitty gritty here, there's only a couple days left. I'm going to go over supports 24th through 1st and the three most unique champions they picked throughout summer and summer playoffs. Down in the description, you're going to see three links: Twitter, Discord, YouTube memberships. Twitter, follow me there. I post links to my uploads there. Discord, join us. We BS about League and the games as they go on. This morning we were talking about Fnatic and what they might be doing with their bot lane and going over a couple rumors, as well as Champions Queue starting last night. Some interesting takeaways from that. And then YouTube memberships, $3 supports me, keeps the channel alive. You get a little badge in the comment section. I'd really appreciate it. If you want to support me more than that, for $10, you get a badge in the comment section and additional content. I do a couple videos a week where I go over NFL, American football stuff, my predictions for the games against the spread over under, as well as my predictions for League of Legends. I predict who I think are going to win the games the day before they happen. I was at like 70% throughout summer, 68% or something like that, so that was good. I also do fantasy American football stuff as well on Thursdays. So you want extra content, you get it that way, and so be it. So 24th on this list is going to be Farfetch from Istanbul Wildcats. I feel like I'm not going to upset anybody by doing this because the Istanbul Wildcat fans, or TCL fans, if you will, the TCL fans do not think highly of Farfetch. So if I remember correctly, he played a lot of Nautilus at MSI and in the past. Leona, definitely an engage CC-oriented support in that way. Never really making me feel one way or another, which is kind of why I got a weird vibe from the fans, because I was like, well, he doesn't look awful, but he also didn't really take over games, if you will. Interesting picks. He played Senna. I think that was probably the Swain game for Holy Phoenix, was Swain Senna. And he played a Zillion as well. So those are two interesting picks that he had. I mean, as long as he doesn't int Holy Phoenix, he should be okay. I mean, Holy Phoenix was probably up towards here in the minor region, 80 carries. So bot lane, he should be able to, win lane at least. With a 80 carry like him. Next, we have Cios from Loud. Not a lot really about him, really. I've watched him play, but I never felt one way or another. Alongside Brance, trying to bring Brance along, who's a rookie. Cios played Senna and Alistar this past split. You're going to say, well, a lot of players played Alistar. Well, most of his champions were not that unique, and Alistar was only played by half of the team players that are going to be on the board, so that's unique. If it was majority, I wouldn't have included it at all, but he played the Senna in the Senna bot lane, which I imagine probably was Ashe Senna. Given that Brance is an Ashe one trick, I would say that that might have been a possibility. I don't recall exactly. But if Loud want to get a chance at a win over Beyond or Chief or DFM, he's going to have to show up in a big way and help Brance out, because Brance is by far the worst 80 carry in the Group A, at least in my opinion. And then even depending on what Fnatic does, I'd argue maybe Bean is even better than Brance, right? So that's going to be a thing, which is going to upset some people, but yeah, whatever. Next, we have Jelly. Jelly is an import, Korean import, that is playing for Isurus Gaming. Jelly formerly played for Freak of Freaks, I think. Solid player, was a hero for Isurus to be able to get them to go to Worlds to begin with, getting a double kill with an open Nexus on an alley. Alistar was his most commonly played champion this past split. However, it was not one of the most interesting picks. He played a Thresh game, a Set game, and a Bard. So three champions that we did not see a lot of. So Jelly has a deeper champion pool than some other players on this list. Korean difference in bot lane is a possibility. In the other group, what do you have? Istanbul and Isurus in that group, and then four pretty tough teams. So I guess the IW Isurus game will be interesting to watch. for that reason. Excuse me, for that reason. You know, alongside Gravato, who I think is a young player as well, so he's in a similar position as Cios. We'll see how he does. Hopefully he plays a little Champions Queue. I don't think I saw him last night, so I don't know if he is playing it or not. Next, we have Alidoric from Chief. And Alidoric's numbers look really, really good, right? And Chief, all their numbers look good because Chief dominated the LCO. Now, the issue I have here, though, is I was reading a little something on Twitter, LCO's opinions or a preview of what, international people should look at when they look at the LCO team. They dominated the region, this and this, but Alidoric is the best player in the weakest role in OS. I think they said something to the effect of support was the weakest role. And Alidoric did really well. I thought his Rakan was solid. It was his most played. His champion pool is not deep. His only interesting pick was Rel. And Rel, it was not very good, although a lot of people played it. Rel is not very good. So as long as Alidoric can keep Reyes alive like he did throughout summer, there is a world where they can get to the second round and have a shot to at least play against DRX or RNG. I am not going to pretend like I think they have a chance in hell at winning, but I think they have a shot of at least playing against them, which I think we need to give them the credit for that as well. Getting to the third spot would be pretty interesting. And who knows, if the Fnatic bot lane does struggle, which I did say the Fnatic bot lane was better than Loud's, but I would argue an Academy bot lane from Fnatic might not be better than Chief or DFM. Now all of a sudden maybe they're in the second spot and they play Mad Lions or Saigon Buffalo. Now things become a little more reasonable, right? So it'll be interesting to see out of Alidoric. Next we have Harp, another minor region support. Another Korean import. At MSI, I thought him and Utapon did solid. Hopefully he takes the next step in this event. I don't believe that he really stood out to me in any way, except maybe his Bard, if I recall correctly, or Bard is something that he picks quite a bit. Three interesting picks he had was Gragas, Pike, and Alistar. So I don't think he picked the Bard this past split because Alistar was picked more than Bard was. But Harp's solid. I don't think he's going to lose the game for them. And like I said, it's pretty much the same thing with like Alidoric. I mean, at this event, one of those two teams is going to get an opportunity, I think. And, I guess I'm giving Beyond Gaming. I haven't went over their support yet, right? So I guess it's kind of disrespectful to Beyond Gaming. But, I think that these bot lanes are pretty solid and are going to into their games away. So Harp is 20th. Then we have a tier here because, we got all these minor region supports here, and we're going to start getting into the nitty gritty of some major region supports. The worst one being Huhi. Unlike yesterday, because FBI was like 14th, right? And I said, well, it's like the epitome of average. Huhi's like the epitome of average as well. I think the support role is a little deeper than the AD carry role, a lot deeper, actually. And Huhi, outside of his couple interesting set plays, Huhi kind of just, his champion pool is deep, right? He played Soraka, Yasuo, Seraphine. They're willing to play Senna bot lanes, right? Yasuo and Seraphine being two picks, right? They'll flex the Seraphine three different ways. He will play a lot of different things, but at the same time, I don't think he plays a lot of them well. At this event, I do think that, we're going to get into it. I think that he's going to be the worst support in his group if RNG get there, right? It's just, I think he's very limited. And the bot lane of 100 Thieves is limited. And, it's just not inspiring at all. Pretty much, what am I trying to say? I'm not inspired at all by the 100 Thieves, really at all at this tournament. Sven, 18th. Sven, this is more so, if he had, I keep saying it about C9. I said it about Berserker yesterday. If he had an opportunity to play play-ins, I think I would have put him higher. Get used to the meta, get used to scrimming against other teams and this and that, and going against world-class bot lanes and trying some things out, maybe expanding his champion pool a bit. But his champion pool is going to be an issue, at least to me. I know he played Ashe, Senna, and Sona this past split, but the Ashe and Senna make sense because, I mean, hell, he's a former AD carry, right? So fasting Ashe, fasting Senna, Ashe support in general, that sort of stuff is actually like very C9 favorite in my opinion, depending on what Berserker can play alongside it, right? But as far as meta champs, like he's got the enchanters down, but how well does he have any of the engaged supports down? If this becomes a change, if the meta changes, if the bot lane meta changes, that hurts Sven because Sven needs to have this time on the Nautiluses, the Leonas, Thresh, Alistar, I mean, Braum, all this stuff. Like, how much of this is Sven really, confident in pulling out? And not only confident pulling out himself, but is the team confident in him pulling it out and succeeding? So it's going to be tough. I hope that they're not stuck playing things that are off meta, that are just washed now. If Lulu's out of meta, I guess yesterday listening to Champions Queue, Zeri is out of scrims for the teams that at least wanted to say what was going on in scrims. So, is that because Lulu is out? Is Yumi out now? Like, what is the deal here? And it's going to be interesting to see in a couple days. No point in pretending like we know what's going on because, there's always some wrinkles, right? Next is Taki. From what I understand, if the meta changes, he'll be in the opposite position as Sven. He'll be thrilled. Apparently this Enchanter meta has not done Taki any favors, which would make sense given the way he plays the game. Him and Shogun, very aggressive. A young player that may not have a deep champion pool. So switching from Engage to Enchanter was a problem for him. But if it goes back to Engage, goes back to CC and things like that, like Alistar and Bruisers and whatever, Taki will be solid. He does int a bit. He did die quite a bit at the tournament, but at MSI. But I think that he is a solid support that can surprise people. If he gets him Kaiser and Unforgiven space, I could see him doing some work. I really could. And that's something that I think has to be respected for sure if you're playing against Saigon Buffalo. Next, I have Hylissang, and this is because he ints his face off. I can't stand it. The guy ints his face off. If Fnatic's biggest problem right now is him. It is him. And it's sad to say it, but like everyone makes fun of Humanoid, and I mean I blame Razork for, well, not blame Razork, but Razork's champion pool issues in playoffs with, when the Trundle was taken away and things like that. But Hilly flashing on Lulu and doing some crazy crap that he should not have been doing and dying all the time, and we see it all the time out of Hilly. He's so coin flip. Because he's coin flip, he's around the middle. When he's at his A game, he's over here. And when he's playing like he did in playoffs, he's over here. I think that he has to get it down. And with the COVID situation, he might not even play. I'm having him on here in case he does play. Because I haven't watched Rux, so I have no idea what Rux is going to bring to the table. And now there are rumors. Apparently, people are mentioning in the Discord that they might get a bot lane loaned out to them. From who? Who is it? I don't know. But as of right now, that's where I have Hilly. Next is Kino. Unlike Hilly, Kino does his job and keeps Wako alive and allows Wako to carry Beyond Gaming to where they are. Oh, by the way, shoot, I just skipped a bunch. Taki, some interesting picks. Rumble, Thresh, Morgana. The Rumble bot was played by Taki. Hilly played Pike, Zillion, Morgana. Caitlyn Morg bot lane, right? Definitely a thing. And now 15th, Keno played Alistar and Ash. Not quite as eccentric of a champion pool. Ash being, we knew Ash support existed, and Alistar obviously exists. So Keno playing those champions, he's pretty standard. I don't expect him to create a big difference in the bot lane versus Harp or Aladoric, but he's going to do his job and do his job well. So we have 3 solid bot lanes in Group A that'll be interesting to watch. Keno just does his job better than them and is more consistent, at least based off the games I watched. It's possible I didn't watch enough. I wouldn't rule it out. Next, major region 8 support, and this might upset people, but I really am not a fan of Kellen. I think if there is a reason why Damwon does not do well, it's going to be Kellen. He is not very good. I think that him and Duckdom being a duo addition is just an awful situation to be in. Oh, and by the way, for the people that, listen to this whole video, I was going to say it over here when I knew less people would listen. Carrie is going to be first. Just a spoiler if you are listening. But 14th, I can't wait to see how people feel about it. It's going to be a freaking riot because I just really like Carria. But now talking about Kellen again. I'm just not a big fan of Kellen. I mean, sometimes he does really well, but I think he is the weak link by a lot. He is the weak link. He played Bard and Senna. His Bard is okay. I feel like he was like a Bard one trick or something because his Bard, I knew about his Bard before he even played his Bard, if that makes sense. Had a COVID situation, I think, but was also pulled a bit for Bible. I really, against Hope and Missing and Flacket and Targamas, I mean, he is definitely he's going to be actually, in my opinion, around the 3rd or 4th best support in his group. I'm not a fan of Kellen, and I think people that are LCK fans that are just like have bias running through them are just going to default to him being better than like Vulcan or Targamas, but I really don't think that that's the case. I don't think that's the case, at least in my wonderful, and I mean wonderful, expert opinion, Now, 13th, speaking of Vulcan, here he is. Sona, Gragas, and Bard. So, why is Vulcan here? He did terrible at MSI. It's true. His MSI trip was awful. Very disappointing. His champion pool was a drizzle. It was the champion drizzle. It wasn't even a pond. It wasn't a puddle. It was a drizzle. I think it was Tom Kench, Leona, and Nautilus. Now we see, like I said, Sona, Gragas, Bard. He played Bard at MSI as well, I think, once. But the fact of the matter is, it's gotten bigger over summer, and hopefully it stays that way. Hopefully his champion pool is a pool when he goes to this event. He can offset bot lane a bit. Hopefully the addition of Kaori makes things interesting, and they don't resort to very standard bot lanes to kind of make things easy. They need to create some chaos in bot lane in the group they're in. If they make it out, they'll be in Group B, and they will need some interesting things in the bot lane if they want to succeed. Now, 12th, we have Kaiser. Kaiser from Mad Lions. I am a fan of Kaiser. It's unfortunate, really, that Kaiser did so poorly at playoffs. I said that about Unforgiven as well yesterday, if you missed the video. I just feel like they were the best bot lane in the LEC overall. I like the combination of them both. I think Kaiser's brought Unforgiven along, and we saw what Carzzy looked like without Kaiser. But some limitations. The champion pool, the only interesting pick he had was Rel. Otherwise, it was the standard stuff that we saw everybody playing. There's not flashiness out of him. He's like a solid 7 out of 10. And it's just like 7 out of 10 floor, but he can play better than that, if that makes sense. It's just I think he's solid. He's solid. And it's unfortunate that the playoffs were the way they were. Otherwise, I might have had him up around where I have Trimby. Maybe I'd swap him. It's like Trimby showed up at playoffs and Kaiser didn't. if that makes sense. Next, we have Barrel. Oh, the blue markers over here. What do I have here? How do I want to handle this? I think actually we have a group here. We have a line here. Did I want to do it there? Yeah, well, too bad. I'm thinking about whether it was over Kellen or below Kellen, but I'm not a big Kellen guy. But Barrel is 11th. When Barrel's at his best, I think he is up here. Like, he can be in the upper third at this event. That's for sure. People are going to say, well, Barrel's better than that. Yeah, but you also he's a better Hilly, because sometimes he's over here. We just all know that. And if you don't think that, you're lying to yourself. So, Barrel, Zillion, Rel, Soraka. If he can keep it together alongside Def, DRX can go on a little run here, maybe get to quarters, right? But he has to keep it together. He's got to keep it together throughout groups against Rogue and Top and GAM Esports, which, I think is going to be not a pushover group for them. I think we've said it before. That's the group where Rogue has a chance to get out. So, in my opinion, Barrel just has to not int. I like Barrel when he wants to play well, but sometimes he just really, really, really ints. And so people say, well, you have some inters that you like and some that you don't. And it's like, no, this guy is an inter that frustrates me. 10th, we have Koala. Definitely one of those minor region PCS supports that we know and love, him and Kai Wing. Koala's been here before. He's done it. He's solid, without a doubt. I think that he is not in a play. He is world class, and I'm going to explain world class. I do it every time I bring it up. World class to me is not top 5 in the world. It is goes to an international event and isn't going to be the reason his team loses. I think that matters. I think if you can go to Worlds, go to an international event, and you are not the reason they're losing, you are world class. You belong there. And I think Koala does. He's brought along 2 80 carries that I think Shun is young, and so is Atlan. And he's a solid player. Does his job. Blitzcrank, Bard, and Ash. I'm interested to see what he does with Flying Oyster. And as far as Group D is concerned, it's going to be tough sledding, but I think that he's definitely better than Huhi. So there is that. I think their bot lane could be better than the 100 Thieves bot lane for sure, without a doubt. I think it's possible. Next, I have Trimby at 9th. Trimby. The reason why Trimby is where he is I actually thought about putting him higher. I like the fact that he drops the ego and will try anything in bot lane to succeed, and there is something to be said for that. The players that are stuck in their ways, they're an international event, and don't want to pick a cheese pick because of some ego thing, are going to lose. They deserve to lose because they're giving up a little bit for some nonsense reasoning. Trimby brought out the Soraka in playoffs, took it to the next level, and did very well. Carried his team pretty much. I thought Trimby did a fabulous job. Comp gets a lot of the credit, but Trimby deserves it as well. I think that he gave a vibe to the series that the opposition was not expecting, and that in itself affected draft, and the trickle-down effect affected everything. And his willingness, you see him with LS practicing Nasus and Zoe. For better or for worse, he's trying different things out. He is open-minded. And being open-minded, when you're in it, the LEC or LCS is massive. Because you need little advantages like that if you want any chance in hell at taking games against better teams. So I really like what Trimby's doing. Trimby played Lux, Taric, and Sejuani. See, I'm not even mentioning the Soraka. Less people played Lux, Taric, and Sejuani than the Soraka in this list. So, Caitlyn Lux, Comp likes Caitlyn, so that's a thing. The Sejuani's pretty much out now, but You know what I'm talking about. Next, we have B.A. Sorry. B.A. from Vietnam. Gam Esports. He looks really good, and apparently, I didn't even see the half of it. Apparently, he's one of the better players in the VCS, and we'll see how he does at this event. I don't really recall him too much in the past, so I don't know if he's young or if he just has never had this opportunity to be at this high of a level. Obviously, with the VCS not playing the last couple of years, I think a lot of people are going to, think little of the VCS, which I did as well at MSI, and they'll just need to be, made aware that the VCS is real, just like I was. So BA played Morgana, Shen, and Pike, the only Shen on the list. Willing to play a lot of different things, and that can give you advantages in the bot lane. He pulls something out that they weren't expecting. Maybe that's the type of player that gets the Maokai out first, right? Maokai support being obviously a pick that many people are going to want to try. And maybe the VCS team is the most willing to give it a go first. Next, we have Targamas. I think that's where that line's supposed to be, right? Yeah, that's where that... Yeah, I guess. So, Targamas played Swain, Bot, Zillion, and Tarek. Targamas had a very, very, very deep champion pool from summer. A lot of champions listed in the amount of games he played. Didn't play Yumi, though, I don't believe, which is a thing, right? And I say it about Ming, and we'll say it when we talk about him in a minute. But need to play that to threaten the ban, to get the ban. Because otherwise, I think if you're against him, you say, well, he's not going to play it, I'm not going to ban it. And all of a sudden, they can pick it, right? And you're putting yourself at a disadvantage against that terrible champion. Otherwise, though, Targamas at MSI really took a big step, in my opinion. I was really impressed with what he did. Going into the event, I was kind of like iffy because it was, his first event, but he really showed up in a big way, carried Flacked, and I think he's carried Flacked for all split long. So Targamas is 7th. I'm really, really intrigued with what he brings to the table at this event. Next, we have Mark from Top. I was kind of iffy. I don't really consider Mark. We'll get into it. The thing is, I think people, I think have said this before, all the bot lane, the four LPL bot laners all have the same first letter named, right? So it's alliteration and people mix them up. And it's I just think I don't mix up Mark. I think Mark is the 4th best one. I think he's better if the meta swaps. I don't think he was not very good in this meta, frankly. He played Seraphine this past split, but nothing else eccentric. I just think that he kind of is really, he's alongside Jackie Love, right? Stay alive, don't int, keep Jackie alive, maybe make something happen with Knight or Tien, and you're going to be one of the better supports, at least in many people's eyes. It's like a good offensive line in football with a good quarterback and things like that. They make things happen. As long as nobody's talking about you, that means it's a good thing, right? And Mark is in a position where nobody's talking about him, so that's a good thing. Next, we have Ming. And this is a really close call for me between Ming and Mako. But Ming played Rel and Ashe this past split. Hopefully he does very well when if K-Sock comes back to the meta. I think he will benefit from playing in play-ins and getting some extra scrim time. I can't wait to see him in Champions Queue. I believe Wei was in there, if I recall. I heard yesterday, or at least was in solo queue maybe. But if they're in Champions Queue, it'll be fun to see Ming in there. But otherwise, obviously, a veteran's been here before. He has not been able to get, over the hump here lately. But at the same time, I think that they are definitely in the conversation. I think I said it in the chat today. I wouldn't be shocked if RNG beat Gen G in group stage. They could split 1-1. But I think that there is going to be an advantage for RNG with all these extra games before Gen G even gets one. That's I think a thing that needs to be thought about and respected a bit. Next, fourth place, we have Mako from EDG. Mako played Set and Blitzcrank. Seems that every time I've been doing this, right, I have like a second. We have like S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, right? And that's pretty much kind of how it ended up working out. But Mako, similar to Ming and Mark, but better than Mark, obviously. I just think Mako is better in a different meta than he is right now. His Lulu's okay, his Nami's okay. Somebody's gonna say, but he's cracked, this and that, and it's like, good player next to a really, really good AD carry in Viper on a very good team, a defending world champion. I think he's very talented. In his group, I think that I cannot wait for T1 and EDG, because if you notice something, the T1 support hasn't went yet. And for those that listen to the whole video, you know where he is ranked. But yeah, good time. Good time. It'll be fun to watch. I love that. I love a good support matchup, especially supports that are willing to play a lot of different things. Speaking of that, we have Lehens, third. Lehens, that Singed is fun. It's fun. And I am thrilled that it is a pick for him. I'm thrilled that it draws bans. It makes the game fun. Somebody might say it's int, but at the same time, I think, he wins with it. He does well with it, and it's something people have to respect. Played Singed, Sejuani, Soraka, is willing to do a lot of different things. His Yumi is solid and very good. So, Lens is a great player. Alongside Ruler, Gen G are disgusting. We'll see that coming days in my prediction video. My predictions might reflect that. It's just like, I think Lehens has really taken a step this past split in this Enchanter meta to really show he is, better on Enchanters than he was in spring. So, Lehens, second. Third. Second is Missing. Missing has definitely been the best player in this meta. The Lulu, Yumi, Nami, Enchanter meta, Missing is great. And he played Gragas, Set, and Alistar as well this past split. Very, very talented player. Has been able to bring Hope along in a big way. Brought JDG along in a big way. I think he's very good. I think he's right now the best player in the meta. But because this is my list and it's my opinion and who I like going into this event, in my, holy, opinion, Keria is first. I am still riding the train that is Keria is one of the best and most talented players in the world outright. Outright, he is one of the best, and if there is a player that I want to see try and get into scrims and make things happen, establish a meta, find counters, willingness to try different things, very open-minded, it is Keria. He played Camille, Lee Sin, and Pantheon this past split. Camille support looked sus. Lee Sin support also sus, but things he's done before. I do not expect to see them at this event, but I expect a guy willing to try different things. And at the same time, I really liked his Nautilus towards the end of the split. His Nautilus obviously is very good, and we've known that for a while. And if he just says, screw it, I'm going to play what works for me, he is good enough to play what works for him against the meta and win with it. He is very good. Most talented player on this board. And that's why he's going to be first. Because it's my list. So, comment down below with your opinion. What's your list? Like the video if you like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Thank you for watching. Join me on Discord, follow me on Twitter, become a YouTube member. Tomorrow, we're going to do the 1218 video, and I have another video set up. The research is already done, so I'm going to do it. It's about like game length and things like that, just something to talk about. And then Wednesday, we're going to do my predictions. I guess people want me to go over my pick'ems. I still don't know how I'm really going to do that on the board, but maybe I'll just have them written on my notebook like I do with this information, and just do something with that. So thank you for watching this video, and I hope you come back for more content. The power just went out, by the way.